the amount of work that's taken to like get here has been crazy when we look back on it. But it's also, we knew it was gonna like fly by, right? But so like I think that's definitely an interesting feeling because we've been preparing for so long. Like to keep in mind everything we've just talked about college rowing, going to do extra post-grad work. Like we started thinking about this at the beginning of 2022. So like me and Mo were seniors at Hobart still.
What's up, everybody? It's RowingCast. Today we have the international arm of Team Seneca Navy. We've got Mo and we got Tony. How are you guys doing today?
Good. What's up, Max?
Yeah, doing good. Good to be here.
All right. So for both of you guys, we're going to go over the basics. Like, what were you like prior to rowing? What got you into the sport? And we'll go one at a time. So, for this question, we'll start with Tony, and then Mo, you'll answer right after. And then, we'll switch it up throughout the podcast. So, Tony, let me know, how'd you get started into rowing? What were you like prior to rowing? Just give me an idea of what that was like.
Yeah, so I mean, my whole life I played hockey in Toronto. So started playing hockey. I learned to skate when I was like, just after I learned to walk, pretty much. And then I started playing competitive hockey in grade 4, and then played. That was my only sport my whole life. Like I did some stuff in school, like whatever volleyball team, but that takes up like 2 months out of the year. And then in high school, did some cross country, did some track like here and there through school, but that was on like a more of a recreational level. So hockey was my main focus pretty much my entire life. And then after high school, I went to the States to play hockey in Maine at a boarding school for a year, just trying to play in college. That was kind of my goal. And then when that didn't really work out, I ended up at Hobart College. Met these guys and, was debating between trying out for their Division I lacrosse team or just kind of trying out a new sport and joining the rowing team, which did require a bit of like a tryout process as well. But with rowing, as long as you're fit, or even if you're not in the best shape of your life, you can join the sport at any time. So join the rowing team at Hobart and I've been rowing ever since then. That was in like 2018 was my first year at Hobart. And Mo was actually one of the first guys that I met on the team during international orientation and did my first erg workout with him and another international student. And I wouldn't say that's when I fell in love with the sport, but, as I started to get better, it was I just loved it.
All right, Tony. So we'll talk about that transition a little bit later. A lot of people start off their freshman year of college right into the sport. So we'll talk about how that transition was later on. Mo, how'd you get into the sport? What were you like prior to the sport?
Yeah, so I started very early. I would say for rowing. So I was playing soccer for a good part of my life. I'm from Germany, so pretty much everyone plays soccer there, I'd say. And then at some point in like grade 6 or something, I stopped playing soccer and I was looking for something else. And my grandpa sometimes mentioned that he has been rowing in his youth. And yeah, that kind of got me interested in the sport, and I tried it out at a local club. Just started rowing maybe like once a week or so. When I was around 12 years old, and have been rowing ever since. I've just like started training more and more throughout the years. And with rowing, I got the chance to study in the US and also, have the opportunity of what we're doing right now with the Atlantic Challenge.
That's sweet. That's sweet. So, Tony, let me know, what were your first thoughts about the sport? And then what were some, were there any barriers, coming from hockey, thinking about lacrosse? Were there any barriers, right, coming into the sport?
I guess I'll start with like my first impression, because I was doing some research actually, like while I was playing hockey in Maine at that boarding school. My cross country coach because at that school you had to choose 3 sports to do. So I played hockey, played lacrosse, and then in the fall I didn't know what to do. It was either like run cross country, do like an art class, or you could just like do this thing where there was like it was like strength and conditioning, and you could just go into the gym and like work out. But me and my roommate decided to do cross country, and this guy was just an insane guy, the coach, and he introduced me to the rowing machine, and he said, if you want to, get fit, or just like, yeah, if you want to just get more fit, like get on this machine. It's like, it'll suck, but it'll be better, good for you in the long run. And then, so I started just like looking up YouTube videos and seeing all these like, montages of like, not only like Hobart rowing, because I knew I was going to the school. So I was looking up just all things rowing. Like I'd watch videos from like the mid 2000s of like the Canadian national team, just like slogging it out. These like Viking men, just like on the erg and stuff like that. So that made it seem like really cool. And I was like, okay, if I choose to join the rowing team, like I'm still debating, but like this would be a cool sport to do. Like you just become it seems like you just become a machine if you're just doing this. So that was attractive to me. And then when I got to Hobart and joined the rowing team, like I would say my first year was just so, I don't know how to explain it, but it was like you're in that like steep learning curve. Like you're getting so much better every day. It's almost like you're surprised at how much better you're getting. And then like you start to think that you know what you're doing almost. But I took it very like unseriously. Like I was very committed and like so excited about getting better. But it was so fun that there was like no stress, especially in that environment. And like when you're a novice, it's like anything you do that's like relatively, you get better one day, like you just get praise, right? Like everybody loves to see that. So that was also the environment where it just felt good. I was trying not to make it like so serious. Like you can't get mad at yourself for like doing bad on an erg test when you've been rowing for like a month, right? It's like whatever. At least I tried my hardest, and like I you push past the limit, and it's like that was just fun. Like I'll take it as that. So that was kind of my first impression, I guess, with the sport. In terms of like barriers to the sport, I don't know, like the team at Hobart was so welcoming. And then I think having that hockey background, I think that helped, I don't know, I guess have some like credibility as an athlete. Just because, I came in, like I was playing at a high level, so I was pretty fit. I'd done like some cross country the year before and kind of got a little taste of like endurance sport. And then I don't know, I think being a hockey player, like it teaches you to have a good attitude about things, and I think it makes you tough. So I think I came in with that kind of attitude, I guess, and it was well received. So I don't know, it all felt really cool. I definitely always felt like I was like, okay, this is not my scene at all. Like the rowing scene versus the hockey scene is like completely different, right? So yeah, at first I was like, okay, this is so outside of my comfort zone almost, I guess. Just the types of the characters, the personalities, like that sort of thing. So I think that took a while to kind of get used to. But like I said, it was super welcoming when I got to Hobart.
That's good to hear. Yeah, that's good to hear. And I've coached some hockey players. They've got a threshold for pain. So rowing, getting on the erg, right? Like rowing across the ocean, right? Probably is light compared to being on the ice. So Mo, let me know about your club in Germany. Any like standout moments prior to coming to the States? Like what was rowing like in Germany?
Yeah. So I rowed at a fairly small club in Stuttgart, and I think there's definitely a big difference for like rowing in Germany versus rowing in the US, because in Germany it's just the teams tend to be much smaller, and it tends to be much more individually based. Like for example, rowing at Hobart, or probably at most college and high school programs, it's like really about the team. It's about making the team better, producing the fastest eights that you can. And in Germany, like 80% of the year, you're just in a single and you're trying to get as good as possible in the single, or maybe if you're sweeping in the pair. And then you have a couple of like trial regattas where you qualify for the best boat possible. And then you go to nationals or worlds or whatever in the boat that that you can get selected for. So it's just a very different structure. And you don't really have that, that team feeling that you can experience in the US. And you also don't really row for your school or university. It's not really a thing. It's all just club rowing in Stuttgart, also in Germany. So the just the structure of the sport is very different. So that's like the biggest difference that I've been noticing.
So then, what got you to Hobart? What's the story there?
Yeah, so I like a couple of years before rowing, before coming to the US, I've always had the goal of making the U23 lightweight national team, and I've tried out for that like the 2 years prior. Never quite made it, but I definitely got better. So at some point I just like heard about the opportunity to go to the US, and I just wanted to try if I'm good enough to get a scholarship, because otherwise I probably wouldn't been able to come to the US, because the university in Germany might be like $200 a semester, and that's just very different to what we have in the States. And so I applied with this organization called Scholar Book, and they helped me to get some of the applications out. And then I've been talking to a bunch of different schools, and I had really good conversations with the coach back then at Hobart, and also another international student who was just extremely helpful, but the whole application process and talking me through stuff. And that's why I ended up going to Hobart at the end.
So then you guys both meet at Hobart. Let me know how it started out. I know you guys mentioned, Tony, I know you mentioned your first erg workout was with Mo next to you. But tell me a little bit about the team.
I think like it actually started out kind of funny. We have like international student orientation at Hobart, and Tony's just like sitting next to me in a bus, and he's like saying, "Yeah, I want to try out for the rowing team." And then next day, a couple of days later, we go to the gym, and we're gonna, I don't know, he erged for like 20 minutes or something. And then I didn't really think it would take him as far as it did, but I think his first year, he went like 6:19 or something.
I went 6:15.
6:15.
Yeah.
I mean, first couple of months of rowing and going 6:15, it's a pretty steep learning curve.
Yeah.
And then Tony,
I think like the team that year too, like there was no seniors on the team for whatever reason. So the older class was the junior class, or the oldest guys on the team were the juniors. Like we literally had 0 seniors. And they were a really good group, and they probably filled up like pretty much the entire, or the majority of the varsity 8, and then like the majority of, or like half of the second varsity, the JV boat as well. And there was even guys from that class in the 3B. So it was like, I think such a unique environment where like we only had 3 boats. I was in the 3B, and you're rowing with a bunch of the older guys. And then the second varsity boat is like, always going at it with the varsity boat. And then like, it was such a competitive and like welcoming environment. Like everybody got along super well. Like I made really good friends with guys in the varsity boat as like a novice, right? And then our own boats were all super tight. So it was like was like the perfect amount of guys. And we even struggled when we were getting close to like IRAs. We struggled to like we lost, or I think the 3V didn't have enough guys to even like have an 8. So we had to like scramble to like bring a guy back from previous years. And he was actually the only senior on the team that year, but he showed up in like April to come back. He was like joined the frat or something.
Mm-hmm.
But the environment was just such a good environment, I think. And then like, it was just an awesome year. Like we went to our qualifiers and all 3 boats, like we swept the qualifiers, all 3 boats got a gold medal. That's how we ended up, ended up getting IRAs as well. So like that group was so closely knit, and it was so important that like guys were helping other guys get better. Like I said, the reason I was able to become friends with guys that were older was because it was just like everybody wanted everybody to be good, I think, because it was recognized that like the better like the worst guys or the 3V guys are, just the better the varsity guys will be. Like I remember one practice where 3V hung with the 1V it felt like a minute, but it was probably like 10 seconds or 15 seconds maybe, like off the start. But yeah, exactly. So like, but then you have moments like that, and they're like, they come up to you, they're not mad, and they're like, that was awesome. I can't believe you guys did that. They're like, giving you props for it. So it was just such a good environment that first year. I think that set up a lot of, how this Atlantic team functions today.
Yeah, it's the pillar, right? It's the foundation, excuse me, and then the pillar is to build on it. But yeah, Mo, I got an embarrassing story. I remember this now, and I never tell you. I see you almost at work almost every day. But I saw you did an Instagram takeover one time for Hobart's Instagram. And I was in college. And I watched it. I was like, oh, I wonder what Hobart does for a day. And it was you. You were like, oh, I'm doing this. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. So I just had to bring that up, man. Okay. It just hit me while we were in this interview. But yeah, any notable moments in like Hobart? So I mean, getting the whole squad to IRA is already pretty, a damn great achievement. Anything past that though? Anything that's notable? Not even notable, but notable to yourself. Like it's really memorable.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
You got some moments. I got some on the top of my head.
Yeah. But maybe like, I think like one notable moment was for me like the first like Thanksgiving I had in the US, because I didn't really have any plans, but then like actually like several people on the team ended up like inviting me to their homes to like spend Thanksgiving with them, and I ended up going to Alberto, one of our teammates in like the DC area, and yeah, just like having that, he and his family were like so welcoming, and that is just like something that I really appreciated about Hobart and about the program, that it's it's just like a really tight group, and yeah, I think that made the transition coming to the US much easier for me.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I remember a lot of times from like the COVID era, just because it was so all over the place. Like New York was pretty open, so we would go back and forth between like having our practices in the gym with like mask on, and you're like erging like 10 feet away from each other, and then like, oh, next week we can go in the water, and then you like go in the water for a week and you think you're back, and then like you can't, and then like the gym, then you can't get back into like the gymnasium to do your workout. So we had to like bring ergs like outside. But I think some of those like fun moments were just like showing up to a practice. Like we had to do an erg one night in the winter, and it was like there was like a blizzard happening, and we're just like in our like jacket, like we're it's so weird. Like usually on the erg, it's like nice, you're inside, like you just got your uni, like probably uni down, like you just don't got to worry about anything. And meanwhile, we're out here like bundled up, wearing our jackets, like on the erg, just trying to get this like workout done. Your hands are like freezing. Like I don't even know if maybe guys were like wearing pogies on the erg. It like sounds ridiculous, right? But those are times you can just like laugh about, and I think you build like that brotherhood in those moments. So there was tons of tons of moments like that. Like we had to 2K, outside, and then like you think you're doing it in one area, and then you're waiting for people to like set up a tent so that we can go erg under it, and just funny moments like that, I would say. In the cold, actually, I have one specific memory that really got me like fired up about rowing and like being on the team. Was we had this one of those guys in the junior class my freshman year. Like we were outside for a row. This is Pat Overton, shout out. And he loved to just like go tarps off when it was like the coldest weather possible, because right, you're upstate New York, so it's like if there's no ice, like you're still rowing. So it was like 0 degrees, like pretty close to, for a row, and it's like starts raining while we're out there, like freezing rain, and this guy's like, screw it, gotta like just take the tarp off. So I was in the 3, but I probably just watched this happen, like rowing by their boat. But you just see this guy like tarps off, like screaming at everybody just to make sure like everybody's having a good time, So that was just kind of the environment, and just naturally a lot of good times were created, I would say. It was just always fun.
That's good to hear. So,
Mhm.
right, where does the name Team Seneca Navy come from?
So the alumni group chat and the alumni association of the Hobart rowing team has been called Seneca Navy. And as part of that, we also had a boat that was called Seneca Navy. And so as part of a tribute to that, we did name our ocean rowing team Seneca Navy. And we also, in the process of that, founded the Seneca Navy Foundation, so we can get tax deductible donations for our row, and then also the partner charities that we are supporting.
And then let's speak on that. Like I work for the Foundry, but I know there's a lot of other partners with that. Where are the fundraising going to? Where's the funds going to?
So we decided to raise money for charities that support basically just youth development, is what we kind of categorize it all under. So we have 4 different charities, one being the Foundry that provides access to rowing and sailing for kids that might not have been able to do it. There are some barriers to those sports, right? So, and then another charity in Toronto and Boston, which are similar, which pair kids with some sort of mentor, like a figure in their life, such as a mentor, that they can just kind of go to because of other types of barriers where they might be in situations where they might not even have their parents around or family members to help guide them. So that's super important as well. And then our 4th charity is Boys and Girls Club of Geneva, New York, which they provide. What's up, Ryan? They provide like after school programs, tutoring, that sort of stuff, and that same guidance, but in more of a group setting. So that was our focus, and the reason for that was we as we've kind of explained, we all had such like profound experiences and like a joint experience at Hobart, and our coach was a mentor, and our teammates were mentors for us. Like the whole program is very focused on helping each other out and helping to guide people, whether it be from the top down or even from the bottom up. So we just kind of wanted to spread that mission into the world and kind of have an impact, not necessarily directly through rowing, but just touching the lives of youths, kids.
The youths.
Yeah.
For sure. I was gonna say, speaking on your coach a little bit, your coach used to come down to Jacksonville and do camps during the winter time sometimes. So, shout out your coach, man. So that's great to hear. I mean, and it for any activity for a kid to have some structure, whether that is through mentorship or like Boys and Girls Club, they got so many different activities for them. That's great to give back to. And, you guys having that team already and having great experiences off it makes sense. So Mo, this is for you. What is the world's toughest row? What is this all about?
Yeah, so the world's toughest row is a rowing race across the Atlantic, from the Canary Islands to the Caribbean. Now it's happening every year. The Atlantic rowing race has been going on under different names since 1997. So I think this year is the 20th time or so that it's happening. And yeah, we are part of that and competing in less than a month. So,
Tony, I'll give this question off to you, and you guys can both comment on it for sure. But what's the training been like? And was it training coming straight out of college rowing into this, or was there a brief period in between where you weren't training so much on the rowing side? Like, what did that look like?
Yeah, we pretty much got straight into it. We didn't really meet up as a team until last fall. Right? Yeah, last fall. So, I mean, my experience was like I graduated from Hobart in 2022. Then I did 2 years on the west coast of Canada rowing for University of Victoria. So I did some extra rowing, but say Dave pretty much stopped rowing right after Hobart graduation for him, which was 2021. Ryan was coming fresh out of Hobart, 2024, and then Mo continued to row with the German team, or just club rowing German team as well back in Germany. So we all kind of didn't have that big of a break. But like say for me, I definitely kind of felt like I needed a bit of a break period from like rowing right after I finished at University of Victoria. So I was home that summer. I worked. I still did some like erging here and there, but I was just trying to like focus on other stuff, like kind of rest my body for what was to come. And then that fall, we got the boat, fundraised for the boat that summer, got the boat in the fall, and then got right into it. And we were training pretty much every weekend from mid-September to end of October-ish, whether we were on the water or doing stuff on land here. So just like as much as we could, weather dependent, we would get out on the boat and spend 12 hours, spend 16 hours. Like I don't think we did more than that during the fall. And then we kind of that brought us into the winter, which was like in college rowing you have that like winter training block, which is either you look forward to or like extremely dreaded. But I think we were pretty excited about it to like get as fit as possible. Did a big like strength training block, and that set us up for a trip down to Florida the following February, which was this past February. So a lot of the training was geared towards that, where the plan was to just row as much as possible down on the Gulf and kind of on that western coast of Florida. So, and then I guess you can take it from here.
Yeah. So like the training doing like flat water rowing and like ocean rowing is the biggest difference is just that the training really goes towards being as resilient as possible, so we don't break down if we have to row for 12-14 hours a day. And then especially like at least for the both of us, I think spending time on the boat, being in waves, dealing with seasickness and so on also was a big challenge. And that's something that we definitely experienced in that training trip in Florida. And then, after that, we traded the boat back up to Cleveland, where most of our training is. Did just like some basic endurance and strength training on the erg in the gym up until the summer. And then this summer was really the most important block of our training, because we just tried to spend as much time on the boat as possible. And then throughout the summer, we basically just nearly every weekend, we just spent on the boat, did at least one overnight row, and during the week, we just tried to maintain our fitness with a couple of sessions, but like just being on the boat for these extended period amounts of time, we just also needed a bit of recovery. Like Monday, Tuesday, did a couple of sessions and then tried to go out on the boat again. And with that, throughout the summer, we just tried to extend the amount of time we can spend on the boat. And we peaked with that with a 5-day row in August. And that was really the key training we did over the summer.
So I'm going to go back just one moment. So Tony, I would like you to tell me a little bit more of what it was like to row on the west coast of Canada, and then as well for you, Mo, what was it like, rowing again back in Germany and then making, a German national team?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think my 4 years at Hobart, I kind of got to a point where I was like, I finally made it into the varsity boat my senior year, and got to race against, other varsity crews, which was like a great experience. But I was in a spot where I was actually contemplating just like deciding between just like, stopping rowing altogether, getting a job, or like kind of deciding, did I want to go to like grad school or just like do some post-grad schoolwork and continue to row. And then, I just decided, staying somewhere in the States wasn't really super realistic, I would say, for myself, cost-wise, other reasons, just like the programs, like, just going, staying in, it's a bit tougher when you're an international student. So obviously Canada would be a little bit easier, but so I started doing some research on Canadian schools and saw that University of Victoria was, and is like one of the best, if not, the best program, I would say, to row at in Canada. So I got to row there, and I did want to continue to see, can I keep rowing at this level? Like, how far can I kind of take it? Just even within the collegiate level. So I got there. I was lucky to make the varsity boat there my first semester. It was just, it was a great experience being out there, like rowing out on the kind of infamous Elk Lake. That's where the Canadian national team used to train back in the day. Now they went up a bit further north, but it's just like a very historic spot. I would say, one of the capitals of rowing in Canada, between that and like St. Catharines, maybe. So it was just such a cool place to row. You're just surrounded by guys that are like aspiring for the Canadian national team, guys that have rowed at the U23 level, or, getting a shot at rowing for the senior team. And just being on Vancouver Island on the West Coast, it was such a beautiful place to row. So nice. And they do some really cool races like in the spring. So the seasons are flipped, actually. You have your Canadian like championships in the fall. So it's like, as soon as I got there, you're like right in seat racing, and you have a couple months to make the boat and go race at the national championship in November. And then in the spring is when you would do your, like, not really a head racing season, but for UVic, there's a couple races that we did, and one of them is kind of mimics like the boat race between Oxford and Cambridge, and it's between UVic and UBC, which is on the mainland. So I got to race in that in the second boat, and it's like this televised thing. They put it on YouTube. They got drones flying, like the chase boat. It's like so well done. It's like the coolest. That was one of the coolest races I've ever done, and it's right on the gorge in downtown Victoria, and you start like kind of well inland, and then at the finish line, it's like right in the downtown harbor in Victoria. And like one of the races had like a seaplane like fly right over them and like wake out the boats. Like it's just an insane experience. There's a bunch of bridges where like tons of students are watching, and and cheering. So that was really cool. So I got to do those 2 years there and kind of really, I guess, just have that last chance, you know, in the collegiate scene to, like, I guess, prove to myself and just see what I was capable of. And I think for me, it was like the best thing I could have done. I think if I had just stopped rowing after Hobart, I would have been left with that, like, you know, could have done more for sure. Like at that level, racing eights. So it was amazing. I can't overstate it at all.
Sorry, Xavier, we're not able to hear you right now.
Oh,
But-
my bad, Mo. So Mo, and how
yeah.
was it post collegiate?
So when I graduated from Hobart, I also didn't really know what I wanted to do with rowing. Next, I was kind of first prioritizing my my career and trying to find a job. And then the job that I ended up with is just with a company that's all remote, and the CEO, he's a former Olympic rower. He was always really supportive with my rowing, and I definitely owe a lot to him. But yeah, I ended up, when I got the job in like summer 2022, I ended up moving to Cambridge, so like Boston area, and I joined Riverside Boat Club. And there, they had a fairly strong, like, lightweight, high performance team that I joined, and then I just started weight training with them, started losing some weight, going back to lightweight, and I just got quite a bit faster as well on the erg, or some really good erg results. So it was more of a fluid transition, and I realized that I wanted to go for the German national team again. Then in the spring or so, I visited campus. I visited Hobart, and I was having dinner or breakfast or something with our former coach, Coach Bugenhagen, and he was like, "Yeah, how do you want to make the team if you are not in Germany?" And that's kind of when I realized that I need to go back if I'm actually serious about that. In the season of 2023, I went back. I tried out. My results in a single, where how it works in Germany is you basically have like a 2K and a 6K early in the season, and then you have like the equivalent of the spring speed order, so it's just small boat rowing a couple of weeks after that, and that's basically all the chance you have to do well and being selected, and if not, you can try again next year. So I didn't do very well in the single, but then I tried out in the pair, lightweight pair, found a partner, and we were doing decent, but didn't quite make the team. Our entry we got entered to the Veracy World Cup that year, but then got scratched because we didn't do too well in one of the selection races. And then, through that season, I just really realized I need to be in the right place if I want to have a chance. I can't just be training on my own. It might work for some people, it doesn't work for me at all. And then I looked at just the places in Germany, at the training centers where that would be a possibility. And I decided to move to Hamburg. And I didn't really know anyone there. I called the coach once before just to make sure if he'd like take me into his lightweight team, and if I show up. And for that I really centered pretty much everything about rowing. So I tried to make sure I live in a place where I'm quickly at the training center. So I worked out in the morning. I did my work, still working remotely from the training center, work out again in the afternoon. So just really centered my life around that for that year. And again, we wanted to go for the lightweight pair. That also didn't really work out, but I ended up qualifying for the lightweight quad last year, and yeah, we got to race in St. Catharines. So yeah, it was a really good experience. Also a lot of work, but yeah, it was also a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Any advice that you would give to a athlete? It's their senior year of college. They are debating on if they want to keep rowing in their life or not, or if they just want to, go out there to the professional world. Any advice to an athlete like that?
I mean, I think at the end you kind of have to, think about what you would regret less not doing, because there are definitely some opportunity costs to either of those. Either if you fully want to focus on your career and advance that, or if you just really want to focus on rowing. For me personally, I like the opportunity to do both to some extent. And also my boss, Kent, that I've mentioned before, he always said, him looking back, he always said, rowing is, you can only row at the high level for a limited amount of time. If you realize in 20 years that, I want to row on the highest level again, it's going to be tough to do it in your 40s or 50. So he always said, your time rowing is limited. You can work for the next 40 years or so. And that kind of encouraged me to just spend some more time focusing on rowing. And so far, I think it's been a good decision.
Yeah, I would say, I think it's probably, I would imagine it's common that people finish and they find themselves in a good spot, maybe with a good erg score, or you're in the varsity boat. But that next level, even if you just want to go to a different school, say in my situation, I just wanted to, keep rowing at that varsity level, collegiate, have some more opportunities there. And although I guess, it worked out for me, but with whatever your goal is, national team, or I don't know, maybe you want to go to the UK and row for those really good clubs or schools like Cambridge or Oxford, give yourself a realistic amount of time to actually chase that goal. Or understand that, it's not going to be going to go row there for a year. And if you don't hit your goal, it's all over. I think for me, I kind of was considering, okay, if I go row at UVic, would I want to maybe pursue the Canadian national team? But, I knew for me, it wasn't just going to be, I'm going to row for 2 years there and I'll be on the senior team by the time I'm done. It was no, if that's the path I wanted to take, it's probably going to be the next 5, 6, 7 years of my life. Right. So I think that can help you decide where you want to end up and it'll lead you to the best experience as well, that you could possibly have. And then, you can make a decision about, do I want to go to this school or go row for this club? And the experience will just be that much better, because, you have that bigger picture in mind, and you're just being realistic with yourself, because it's not that, the goal is unattainable. I'm not saying that at all. It's just saying give yourself a realistic timeline, understand that it's going to take some time to actually hit that goal. Because, you always see guys that nobody knew probably who they were in their senior year of college. And then 5, 6 years later, they became the guy on the national team, or they made it to the Olympics, those stories. Right. And it's just, they just stayed in it and did it long enough for it to work. So, yeah.
Yeah, without a doubt, right? I know that question is out there, but scenarios are different. But then, once again, to you guys' point, opportunity costs, and you're still young at that point, so you might as well see what you can get out of it. And not everybody's goal is to make the national team. Maybe it is just to get some more rowing, in your life. So that's great to hear. We'll transition back to Team Seneca Navy, back to the world's toughest row. What are you guys' initial thoughts just in general, less than a month, to go? All the training is, 90% of the training is done, right? You still got, some extra, work coming up. But what are you guys' initial thoughts?
I think it's like we're definitely all really excited for the challenge. We've been working on this for like all together, started planning fundraising close to 3 years ago. So it's just an enormous amount of time that goes into it, and it's really consumed a lot of time in our lives over these years. So I think it's a mix of like excitement, but then also like I think we're all definitely all worried about being in up to 20-30 foot waves out there in the Atlantic, no one around us for over a month, because like we've definitely had some really difficult situations on our training rows that were just miserable and tough, and so I think it's a mix of excitement and worry in that regard.
Yeah, for sure. Like the amount of work that's taken to like get here has been crazy when we look back on it, but it's also, we knew it was gonna like fly by, right? But so like I think that's definitely an interesting feeling because we've been preparing for so long. Like to keep in mind everything we've just talked about college rowing, going to do extra post-grad work. Like we started thinking about this at the beginning of 2022. So like me and Mo were seniors at Hobart still when Dave like posed the question, and then we didn't really think about it or talk about it for like another year, right? So all while that was happening, like this whole Atlantic project has like been in the works, and for the majority of it we didn't even like have our boat. Like we were just doing everything we could to like get set up to be in a good spot right now. So yeah, it's like we've done so much work that I think we're able to feel good about where we are, but at the same time just like there's the worry of this crazy feat that we still have to go and tackle. So like, and it's something we've never done, as much preparation as we have done, it's still a completely new experience. So it's like, you still feel like, wow, this is so new, even though I've been practicing this preparing for this for like 3 years. So it's like it's a weird place to be in. And I'm sure other teams that are doing it, for the first time, and which is the majority of the teams every year, feel the same. So it's a weird place to be in for sure, but exciting.
Yeah, I could only imagine. I was going to ask, okay, we've all done, at least in college rowing, we've all done our ask, right? When it comes to like doing fundraising for our individual programs. What's the difference of, right, like doing that for like Hobart and then say like Team Seneca Navy? Like how much did you need to fundraise, right, to get a boat? Like what's the difference between like a team like, donate to Hobart, we'll jump in the water, or like, compared to, the fundraising that you need to do for something like this?
I mean, I think a difference was definitely that we like needed to take a bit more ownership of it. At least at Hobart, that's still the coaches were very involved with fundraising, and now it's either we hit our goals or we're not doing this. And the boat initially was around 65,000, and that was like our first fundraising goal that we had to hit to get the boat here. All in all, we had to raise roughly 220,000 to cover our expenses to get to the start line. So we just really had to start getting creative with what we do for fundraising. We went to like a boat show, we went to regattas, we just tried lots and lots of different things to engage people, and find out what works to get sponsors and donations.
Yeah, it's been an interesting journey with the fundraising for sure, because when you look at it like on paper, our progress versus like what we projected, it's actually been like really good. Like every time we set out to reach a certain number, like we hit it on time, or like by the time we wanted to. So that's been like really reassuring. And yeah, it's just like a new area, right? Like I guess when you're fundraising for your college team, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna do my best, but you know, if everybody I ask doesn't donate, like, you know, it's like it's still your problem because the fundraising is for the team, but you're assisting like the coach's efforts and the coaching staff, right? So it's like you almost, you know, it's a bit different for us now. It's like, you know, we're the ones that actually like we need this stuff. Like we're in charge of it. There's nobody to come in and save you. Like you don't have that coach above you that's going to be like, you know, spend that extra hours of reaching out to alumni and like I guess covering for you guys covering for the guys that aren't hitting the mark, right? It's like just fully on us.
Yeah, and also I think like during college it was more, you know, reaching out to alumni or friends of the program and asking them to donate. Now it's also about like selling people their logo on the boat, or selling companies the logo on the boat, selling people to be part of the adventure in some way. So getting these corporate sponsors was also something that we didn't really have experience with.
Mm-hmm.
You really got to bring out the salesman in you.
Yeah, no, I could imagine. Because you know, in college, man, all you gotta do is a few phone calls, maybe do a little telephone, call, whatever you call that, marathon, whatever. But for the most part, like I feel like this, you definitely have to take ownership of it. And if you don't meet your marks, then the mission won't be accomplished. You won't be able to get to do what you want to do. So makes sense. So when it comes to the world's toughest row, so for the most part, you're all the way out there, but are you not seeing other competition? Like, is competition not around? Is everybody doing their own route? Like, how does that work?
So, like in the actual row, like after a couple of hours, maybe a day in, we won't see our competition directly anymore. Because it's just too far out. We can track them. Like we're gonna have a tracker and we can know where they are and where we are in the race. But yeah, it's not like it's gonna be a bow to bow race the whole way through. So definitely different type of racing than like a 2,000 meter race.
Gotcha. So do you need some navigation skills in that way, right, to like figure out what the best path is? And I know Mother Nature probably takes something, Mother Nature probably puts you on a different path at times.
Yeah, so we actually hired a really experienced or two really experienced weather routers that are going to be in daily contact with us and advising us on what routes to take based on ocean currents, based on winds, and they're going to advise us what to do. And yeah, they're actually really impressive. Like they work together on Liz, one of the weather routers. She worked with Lincoln, the other weather router, and she did the Atlantic solo and beat the previous women's world record by like 14 days or something. So they really know what they're doing. So we hope they can do some magic for us as well.
So how was the training trip in Florida, rowing on the Florida coast? And then what was it like rowing in Lake Erie during the summer? I know you guys rowed to Put-in Bay, correct?
We did, yeah.
Yeah, so speak on both of those.
Yeah, the Florida trip is like our ultimate training story, just because it was such a crazy introduction to like I guess a longer row. The goal was like a 3-day row, which on paper sounded amazing. We had a whole like it was going to be great. We were supposed to row from Tampa Bay to the Florida Keys. We had a nice like on the water motel booked for when we got there. We were going to spend another 3 or 4 days just like vacationing in the Keys, enjoying ourselves after 3 days out of rowing, which And then the actual route that we were going to take, we were supposed to just be getting pushed by the wind the whole way. It was supposed to just kind of be like a following sea all the way there. And, we made it out of the bay. We started on a Friday at like 8 a.m., 7 a.m., something like that. And we made it out of the bay in, I don't know, 6 to 8 hours, something like that. And then as we started going down the coast, the wind, turned into night, and the wind just completely switched from just a huge wind. I don't even know what the wind speeds were, but coming right off the shore. So we were just like battling all night in like beam on waves and wind, trying to like not get pushed way offshore, because we were just like the course that we were on was not at all. We were trying to go south, and we were just getting pushed way west into the Gulf. So like the entire night we're just rowing starboard, just like, I think I still feel it. Like I went for PT this morning, and I'm convinced that it was from that row that like this shoulder and thing just like gets wound up all the time, because we were just on starboard the entire night, throwing up the entire night, saying prayers, just getting like sea spray, like we're soaking wet, going into the cabins. Nobody could sleep. Didn't eat anything the entire night, or like really drank. It was just like a miserable night. I don't think we really had anything that crazy like the previous fall. It was pretty light. And then the morning came, and we kind of had to completely switch our plans. So we ended up getting picked up from by Dave's brother, who was also in Florida. He trailered us back to the Tampa Bay, just because the conditions were, if we went back out, the conditions would have we just would have kept getting pushed into the Gulf, or like we would have been going into a headwind the entire time. Like we just wouldn't have made it there on time either. So it really wasn't that safe. And, we would have just, who knows, it would have went from like a 3-day row to like spending a week out there just trying to like get back to shore. So we had to switch plans, but then we went all the way back to the Tampa Bay and spent the entire next week doing like 10-hour rows every day, 15-hour rows, or up to a 15-hour row on the last day. So we spent way more time on the boat than we initially even planned to, which was really good training as well. So we had like the worst night ever. And then that whole next week was just, we got really good training, good conditions, like rough enough conditions to get some good experience. And it turned into a really good training trip, and it was fun.
Yeah. And then like the summer we mostly trained on Lake Erie, and I think like I haven't really spent any time here, and I was definitely surprised by how rough Lake Erie can get. Like we had some waves. The highest waves we've seen were probably around like 10 foot. And so in terms of the rowing on on an ocean versus on a coastal, versus on Lake Erie, the difference is really just that the water is salty, because like the lakes can get pretty tough. That's for sure. So
I mean, you think that's really good? Is that a pretty good test for the conditions that you're gonna face in a month or so? And I think it's good that you guys had that that period of of roughness, because you're going into like 40 days potentially of straight rowing.
Yeah, so I think we definitely did good training to prepare for the row, and the conditions on the Atlantic are definitely going to be different, just because it's so much bigger. So what we will likely see is that the waves are much higher than we've experienced, but they're also going to be the distance between waves is going to be much greater. So on Lake Erie, we might have 3 seconds, 4 seconds at most between waves, and that could stretch out to 10 or so on the Atlantic, and that makes the same height of wave actually easier on the Atlantic. So yeah, I like, obviously it's going to be extremely rough, and we're gonna see the worst conditions we've ever seen out there. But the training that we've done is definitely a good start.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Lake Erie's like getting tossed around on like a trampoline, and then the Atlantic supposedly will be more like a roller coaster or something like that. Like you can actually surf down the waves and stuff like that. So yeah, like you just get, we've had our days where we're just getting tossed around on Lake Erie.
Yeah.
So, hey, boys, I'm really thankful for having you guys today. If there's anything that you want to shout out, by all means, this is your time to plug whatever you need to. And, hey, man, I wish you guys nothing but the best, man. Prayers for you guys, man. And, work hard, man. You guys have already been working hard. I'm a witness to it. So, and then all the efforts, right? When it comes down to fundraising, when it comes down to training, like you guys have done the work. So shout out to you guys. I got my Team Seneca Navy hoodie. All right. So, shout out you guys, man. Anything you guys want to talk about or plug or anything like that, we'll end on that.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Like if people are interested, for sure, we're trying to like post as much as we can during the row, really share our story on the Atlantic. So yeah, follow us on Instagram or Facebook to hear more about that and see what we actually encounter out there.
Yeah, so our website is senecanavy.com. On Instagram, we're just team.seneca.navy. And yeah, while we're out there, we're going to post as much as possible. And we talked about our mission as well. It's just to help help the youth be the best versions of themselves and gain access to those types of opportunities. So you can also donate at our website. That money can be designated to either of the 4 charities that we're supporting. So, and while we're out there, we just want to have the fastest crossing, the most fun crossing possible, and raise as much money as possible for the mission. So it'll be a good one to follow.
And then if you haven't already, man, take a look at their Florida vlog, their Florida documentary, man. It's a sight. And you know what? I'm gonna bore the other guys with the more of the kid like questions about Team Seneca Navy. What are you guys gonna do? Where you guys pooping and all the stuff like that. So I'll bore those guys with those questions. But thank you very much, you guys. I appreciate it.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, man.